Minnesota is home to a surprising number of good authors. Must be the water, as I mentioned earlier. We're very pleased to welcome another author of fine mysteries, to our round table. And Kent is going to introduce our guest, and so I'm not going to say anything more about it. Over to you, Mr. Kruger.
All right, well, we are, in fact, honored to have David House Wright. We call him House. I hear this evening. So the world knows now. We call him House. House is really one of the bright stars in the sky here in Minnesota in terms of mystery writing. You know, you really truly are. You've been around for quite a while. You currently are the author of the Rushmore Mackenzie series, which debuted in 2004 with A Hard Ticket Home, a really fine novel. You followed that up with Tin City, Pretty Girl Gone, Dead Boyfriends, and your most recent release in the series, Madman on a Drum. And we've all agreed that's just a terrific title.
You know, they're all great titles.
Yeah, they really are.
Did they come first?
Excuse me?
Did they come first?
No, only one title ever came before the book. I started actually writing the book, and that was A Hard Ticket Home.
Okay, just curious.
And that was inspired by an event in my life, and I basically kept it in my pocket for years until I found something to attach it to.
Madman on a Drum also has an interesting kind of history to it.
Well, when I write the books, I try to let the book suggest the title, and sometimes it doesn't work that way. But in this case, I was in the middle of writing the book. I did not have a title, and I came across a poem written by Oscar Wilde, The Ballad of Reading Jail,
Sure.
which dealt with his experiences when he was in prison. And there was a line, Madman on a Drum, which referred to the beating hearts of the prisoners as they were waiting for the execution of one of their fellow prisoners.
Fascinating.
And I just glommed onto that sucker and put it on the book.
Rushmore Mackenzie, or Mackenzie as he's known, is a really intriguing character. He's a great creation in the genre. Tell us about Mackenzie.
Well, Mackenzie is an ex-cop who became an ex-cop so he could collect a reward on an embezzler that he caught. And now he's rich and he's bored. And he does favors for people. And his motivation largely is that he wants to make the world a better place. And you guys all know Dennis Lehane. Mm-hmm. You know his work. Well, Mackenzie is like the anti-Dennis Lehane. I know Dennis, and I love Dennis, and I love his books, but you read one of his books, when you're done, you're like a wash rag.
Limp,
you know?
completely.
And I wanted to write a series with a character who, when you reach the end of the book, he may be all beat up by what he experienced, but there's a certain uplifting aspect of it because the world's a better place because of what he did. And that's basically what inspired me, was Dennis's books. I wanted a character who was
The antithesis of...
Yeah, who was like policemen, who were like firemen, who are like soldiers, who deal with a lot of the horrors of their jobs by reminding themselves that it's a job that needs doing, and to keep being redundant about it makes the world a better place because they do it.
So in some senses, except that he doesn't take a percentage of whatever he recovers, if he recovers anything, he's like a Travis McGee. I mean, he's a PI without a license,
Yes.
essentially, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that I'm impressed with in terms of the Mackenzie novels is the voice. It's a wonderful voice. It's smart, it's tough, it's wisecracking. I think one might have been Publishers Weekly who called him the true son of Spencer, you know, Parker Spencer. Oh, grimace.
Well, that's
That's
do
heavy
worse.
company.
That's
I
nice.
know,
That's very
I
nice.
know. Well, those of us who know you know that you are tough, smart, wisecracking. So tell us a little bit about the relationship between David House Wright and Rushmore Mackenzie.
People say they recognize me in the book, but it's really not true. They recognize some of the things I say. They recognize my sensibilities. But I'm not Rushmore Mackenzie. On the other hand, all of the characters in the book come from the author. They come from me. So you could just as easily say that I'm the bad guys, or I'm the prostitute. I'm the...
You heard it here, folks.
First.
Well, we all
I'm an
prostitute.
ethical lawyer, you know?
Sure.
So there is that aspect of it, but I do get a lot of that. People who actually know me well will point out things and say, yeah, that's you. And I go, well, no, not really.
You
I don't know. I don't know if
have him
this.
play hockey?
Excuse me?
You gonna have him play hockey?
He does play hockey.
Play hockey? Plays hockey.
One of your trademarks is the research that you do for your books.
And your short stories.
And your short stories. I heard you say once that you could point to a tree in Roseville, the city that you live in, and say, that's the tree where a bullet hit in whatever
yeah.
the novel was.
Oh, yeah. That was in Practice to Deceive. I can not only show you the tree, I could show you where the bullet hits. I take it all very seriously. You guys were talking about setting before. I think setting is essential. There's an old saying that, you know, if you come from where they come from and you're taught what they're taught, you'll believe what they believe. Well, if you come from a certain area, you're very much shaped by that area. And so I take it all very seriously. Everything in my book is real. I could take you to all of them. I do change the names. I will move them for purposes of plot and to avoid embarrassing somebody. As you said earlier, you know, I'm not going to have a drug deal go on in the back of Murray's. Why would I want to embarrass Murray's? So I'll create a
Maybe they'll do-
restaurant
no, right.
that you'll all recognize. Go, oh yeah, you know what? That's based on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But you won't be sued.
No, I won't be sued, but you know, people will give you that.
How much? How much do you control the characters versus the characters speaking to you in their own voices?
I have heard writers talk about their characters as if they were real people. I have heard authors say things like, I wanted the character to do something, but the character wouldn't let me. That's absurd. I mean, who's in charge here?
Well, that was my
who's
question.
who's got the delete button? No, I will, in the course of writing the book, say to myself, well, you know what, the character really wouldn't do that, or they wouldn't say that, or they wouldn't say it that way. And so you are true to the character. And sometimes the character does evolve in ways you didn't necessarily plan out. But the idea that the character is actually leading the author through the book, I think, is silly. On the other hand, there are a lot of really fine authors who
Believe the
that.
other side. Well, obviously we're going to have David back because
Oh, that
I
was
have
much too
a few
fast.
hundred other
We're
questions
done?
that I really want to ask you. We really are done.
Well, it's good
So-
because I didn't get a real nice coffee.
Sorry about that. Thank you for an interesting interview.
Thank you for
Thank
having me.
you.
And,
Yes.
hope you have a lot of success with your writing. One of the things
Yeah.
I always want to know is whether he's ever going to go back to Holland Taylor. But we're going to shift gears.
Just a simple yes or no.
Yes or no? See, can't do that.
We'll
Now who's in charge?
Okay.
I'm in charge. We're going to shift gears, and we're going to talk about a totally different kind of crime fiction. We're going to talk about traditional American mysteries, and it's a book called The Mortal Groove, and we'll be back in a very few minutes. But here's a look at some of the covers of some of David's work.